Hello boys and girls and welcome. Before we dive into making a game, we need to start with basics. Just like house is built with building blocks like bricks, mortar and other things, similarly games are made of different parts. We will be covering Python programming language, and it means that we need to cover the basics of that language, which is variables, data types, operators, and data structures. But first and foremost, I will show you how to download PyCharm onto your computer, which is a code editor that we'll be using to make games. So I'm assuming all of you are on your computers right now. It doesn't matter if you have Windows 10, 11, it doesn't matter really. Or just open up your favorite browser. In my case, it's Brave because I feel brave. I want you to feel brave as well. And we will just type in and search for PyCharm. Download PyCharm Community Edition for Windows. And you can click on the second result you will get is the one with a download PyCharm Community Edition free latest version. Let's give it a few seconds. Click on free download, and it should take only a few seconds to get on your computer. Confirm, save. Okay, in that case, it will take about 10 or 12 minutes. So I will just fast forward this video because you don't need to watch me downloading this software. It will be similar to yours. Have it downloaded, head over to your downloads folder and double click on the file downloaded. If it gives you this pop-up window, just confirm yes. And just click through, just keep clicking on next. It's advisable, I would recommend just to click on this add bin folder to the path because it will make things easier later on. And you can check off this box as well. And to make things easier for you, again, you can check this off as well. Click next and install. Okay, it will take a minute again. I will fast forward this video again. So it's installed now, and it will give you option to reboot now, or if you want to reboot later. There's no it just needs to finalize what you just made to your computer, and I would recommend just to reboot now. So let's reboot. So it's back. We are back, and the editor is on our computer. We can see it here on our desktop. We'll double click on it to launch it. Here we are presented with this window saying, basically it's giving us option if we want to import any settings. This is a fresh start and we don't need to import any settings. So you just click OK. Seeing this window, we can maximize it. And at this point, we have successfully installed the PyCharm code editor. Let me just point out that we actually need to do one more thing to actually start successfully to actually start coding and start learning about Python. We need to actually install, because with Windows, Python isn't pre-installed. We need to actually download it and install it. So let's do it. Again, in your favorite browser, we can type in the search bar python.org. And you can click on downloads, and depending when you actually watching this video, the number version can be different. You can see Python 3.11, 3.12, maybe even later numbers. Okay, so you just click on it, and it will give you option where to download it. We will just keep it in downloads. So just click save. As you can see, it takes only a few seconds to have it downloaded. And we might as well just click on it, the installation. What I would recommend you, boys and girls, is to check off this box and check off this one as well. It will just make things easier for ourselves later on. And we will click on install now. If you get this pop-up, just click on yes. Okay, it takes only a moment to have it installed. In the meantime, you can get yourself a tea or cocoa, hot chocolate, whatever floats your boat, whatever works for you. And we are ending. We finished it. Okay, we can click on close. And at this point, it's installed. It's in our system. And next, what we can do, we can start learning about variables, data types, and other very important topics. So what I want you to do now, boys and girls, just double click on your code editor, the PyCharm. And we will create a new project. If you get this window, you can just close it off. And we'll click on new project. And we can just simply click on create. We can leave these as it is. We don't need to do any changes here. Click on create. And it will set up just a default project for us. As you can see, it's creating virtual environment. Just to help you understand what virtual environment in Python means, is it's keeping all the modules and all the blocks of Python in confined space. So the whole Windows, the whole system doesn't get scattered and bloated with basically with the modules and libraries that it doesn't necessarily need for the operating system to run. We still need those systems. We still need those data to actually do our work, to do our exercises, to show off our skills, and just to do what we need to do. But it doesn't necessarily need to be in the whole system, if you understand what I mean. So for that reason, Python comes with a virtual environment, and PyCharm, the code editor, will create one by default because it's the best practice. And here we are. We can just adjust the width of the column. And first and foremost, what we need to do is create a new file. You can click on File, New. Okay, that's not the one I wanted to go to. Okay, new. Yeah, here it does. So right click on Python project, new, and Python file. You can name it just you can name it just main. It's okay. Okay, boys and girls, next thing I want you to do is to click on this icon. It says terminal. And reason for that is because it will show us the output or the result of what we are doing, the exercises, those variables and everything. it will just show us basically what we are doing. Okay, so we can start with variables. You can think of variables as the box of matches, empty box of matches, and you can put something inside. You can actually hold value, just like a box of matches, hold matches inside. Just the same, variables hold value. For example, here we can just type in favorite movie, movie, and assign variable, any movie that you like. Okay, for example, it can be Lion King. And at this very moment, the favorite movie variable, or I should say, the box of matches, contain or hold the value of Lion King. It can be anything at all, and just to see that we have actually created this new variable, what we can do, we can that variable favorite movie. You can just hit enter, it will just autocomplete, and save these two lines with keystroke Control S. In the moment it's saved. Now you go over to your terminal and type in python main.py and hit enter. And as you can see, it did print out Lion King. As you can see here, we've got these two Lion King, and it's surrounded by quotes. In Python, you've got two options. You can either substitute it with double quote, save, run, head over to terminal. You can just hit up arrow, and hit enter. And as you can see, it gives us the same result. All we did here, we changed the single quote into double quote, because in Python it doesn't make really much difference. The Python still understands what we are trying to do here. So now what we can do is we can change it to favorite movie. To some people, it can be it can be Home Alone. Save, Control S, and we can just hit up arrow again and hit enter. And as you can see, the computer is giving us back Home Alone. Another thing I would like to tell you, boys and girls, is that the favorite movie doesn't have to necessarily contain a movie name, because in Python, favorite movie, because in Python, boys and girls, variable can contain any type of value. It doesn't have to be a string of characters. It can be a number, or it can be a Boolean, which we will learn very shortly afterwards. For example, favorite movie can either be, for example, 23. I know it doesn't make much sense. Favorite movie 23. That doesn't make much sense. I don't know if there's such a movie called 23. However, Python doesn't care. Python doesn't care what's the name of the variable. It understands that the name of the variable is favorite movie, and we have given it the value of 23. So what will happen now, if you hit Control S, it will save the file. And when you hit up arrow again, as you can see, it's still printing out 23. Because in Python, variables, like for example, in this case, it's favorite movie, it can hold any value. It can be string, like Home Alone. It can be an integer, like 23. It can be a float, like 2.3. And it can be Boolean, like true. Again, I know it doesn't really much make sense, favorite movie true, but for example, when Booleans do make sense is, for example, if we create a variable, is this awesome movie, and we give it a value of true. That makes sense, doesn't it? Is this awesome movie? And we give it true. Or if you don't fancy that movie, you can just give it false. And this data type is called Boolean. Booleans, they have only two values, either true or false. And notice that in Python, the Boolean always starts with a capital letter, F in case of false, and capital T if it's true. If you try to give it a true like this, Python won't understand it. It will give you error. As a matter of fact, we can actually try. Just give it value of true with lowercase t, save the file with Control S, and up arrow and run the main.py. And it's giving us error. He has given us error that is not defined because Python doesn't understand it. But if we give it back, if we return back and give it a capital T to read true, save the file with Control S, and we run the file again. Now it understands it. No error has been outputted. We don't see any error here because Python understands it. We didn't print it out. We can do it though. We can print it out with print and that variable name. Is this, as you can see, we can autocomplete it, Control S, and print it out. And as you can see, we are getting both our variables printed out, Home Alone and true. Something I need to point out here, what you need to follow when it comes to naming those variable names. For favorite movie here, and is this awesome movie? For example, what Python won't let us do is begin the variable name with a number. For example, 2 buckets of minions, for example, and we will try to give it a value of 11. I won't be running it, but I can tell you right now, this variable name, Python won't like it. It will give us error. No variable name with number. Another thing that you need to know is that a case which we will use in a variable name makes difference in Python. For example, if I type in favorite movie, and I will give it, if I can spell right, if Home Alone. And as you can see, this is the same variable name as the first one, but is it? As you can see, here I've got lowercase, and here I've got uppercase. In Python, as Python is concerned, as far as Python is concerned, these two are two different variables. It's not the same. And I can prove that by giving it different value. For example, I can go with what's your favorite movie? Help me here, boys and girls. Let's go with Frozen. And what we can do now, we can take this off because we don't need it anymore, and print favorite movie. So as you can see, in a line 4, I've got print statement with favorite movie with lowercase f, And on the next line, I've got a print statement with uppercase F. Control S to save the file, and I will run it by hitting up arrow and enter. And as you can see, I didn't get Home Alone twice. I got Home Alone and I got Frozen, because as far as Python is concerned, these two are different variables. Even though the only difference is the first letter, lowercase, uppercase, but it does make difference. The same thing if I do movie here, and I will leave the M here lowercase. Again, it's very much different variable. Okay, so I will just put it back the way it was. The next thing, boys and girls, I want you to learn is the concept of, or the topic of comments. And comments are, for example, all comments start with a hashtag. Some people call it a pound sign. And comments are useful if we want to just basically comment the code for ourselves and for others, without Python actually paying attention to it. We want Python actually ignore it, because it's not for Python to read it, it's for humans to read it. So for example, I can say I have Home Alone movie and I watch it every Christmas. This line, if we save the file and we run it, this line will be completely ignored by Python. I can up arrow, yeah, my bad about this one. I need to take this one off. I need to take this line off, because we no longer have the favorite movie anywhere in our code, and Python doesn't understand what it is, so I need to take it off. Control S again, and now I can run it again. And as you can see in our output, the only thing we are getting is Home Alone, which is the result of the line 3, where we call print statement with a favorite movie inside. But nothing else is printed out. Nothing else. We are not getting any other output from Python, which means that this line, the line 5, was completely ignored. It's not for Python to read it. It's for humans to read it. And now is the quiz time. So let's check your understanding. Okay, boys and girls, I want you to do this. Create a variable called GreatShow and give it a value of Rescue Rangers. Next, create a variable called age and give it a value of 11. Next, create a variable called temperature and give it a value of 30.5. Create a variable called I'm learning Python to make games and give it a value of true. Next, make a comment that reads Python will ignore this. And lastly, print out the variable that holds a float value. Okay, boys and girls, so let's see if you managed the quiz. So as you can see on my screen, this is how it was supposed to look like. Just check your work, check if your screen matches, or my code matches yours. And if you have done so, well done to you. Great job. If you have any mistakes there, or it doesn't look quite right, just correct your mistakes, learn from it, and just keep having fun. If you have made any mistakes, it's completely okay. Bear in mind that mistakes are stepping stones to success in life. Okay, so if you are making mistakes, it's actually okay. Okay, boys and girls, this is just a recap of our last session. Okay, let's do this together, shall we? So we've got first variable and it's called planet Earth is flat, and it's assigned the value of false. What type of variable this is? It is Boolean, right? Boolean. Next, we've got my name is, and it says Mark. Those quotes surrounding the word, it's kind of tipping you off, right? It indicates that this should be string. If you get string, you got it right. Next is my height is, and it holds the value of 180.2. What type of value is this? What data type? That's a float. That's right. And lastly, we've got number of legs of a chair, and it holds value of 4, and that is integer. Well done if you got it right. Next thing I want to cover with you is operators, or are operators. They are very important because they help us solve certain kinds of problems. And I'm pretty sure most of those operators you are already familiar with from your math class. Okay, so let's give you let me give you an example. For example, we can do addition, and addition holds the value of 12 plus 4. We can print it out, and after saving the file, we can run the file. We can run the main.py. Can you tell what will be the result? Can you tell what will be outputted? And if you get 16, you got it right. Yeah, because 12 plus 4 is 16, and the value is allocated or is put into addition, to variable called addition. And here on line 2, we just printed it out. As you can see, we use the operator plus, but we can pretty much use any mathematical operator or mathematical symbol as long as mathematically it makes sense. For example, we can do division. Let's change. That's right. And as you can see, yeah, I need to change it here as well, otherwise it will give me error. What do you think will be the result? When I run it, what's going to be in the terminal? It's going to be 3, right? But look at this. We get 3.0. Even though 3 and 3.0 is pretty much the same result, it makes a slight difference. The reason is because Python gives us a float by default when we divide. But if we want to enforce, or if we want to tell Python, I want only one whole number, we need to double it. We need to double the sign of division, like this. Save the file and run it again. And as you can see, yes, I'm getting just 3 without a 0. It is because I specifically or explicitly instructed Python that I want only integer. I don't want it to give me a float value. So there you got it. Similarly, we can do multiplication. And well, change it here as well. So what do you think will be the result? If you were guessing 48, you got it right, 48. So as you can see, Python in a way is a great calculator, way better than me. And probably you guessed it, the last operator is minus. And if I run it now, after saving, it's gonna give me what? It should give me 8, right? And indeed it did. We've got 8, because 12 minus 4 is 8. So we have covered operators in Python. It's very similar to math, and as you can see, we have just proven that Python is a great calculator, and it can do very complicated maths as well, way complicated than I can even do. Okay, boys and girls, and now I would like you to learn about data structures. Data structures, basically what it does for us is it keeps a set of data, set of numbers, strings, characters, set of pretty much anything you can imagine organized, and it helps us to access the data in a very easy way. Let me give you some examples. Okay, we've got lists, and lists are indicated by square brackets like this. I want to also tell you that list can be created not only by indicating square brackets, but we can do also this. So on line 3, you've got 2 square brackets, and on line 4, you've got the same variable with the keyword list followed by 2 parentheses. And as far as Python is concerned, it is the same thing. So I will just take this off. And if you want to put something inside variable of lists, all we need to do is mention the variable, and we want to, for example, append apple. Actually, it needs to be one. It needs to be one at a time. Yeah. So just to prove that actually the apple will be in a lists variable after I run this, what's inside. Control S to save it, and let's run it. And as you can see, we've got apple. Can you see it's empty here, right? But on line 4, we have added apple inside with the method append. It's a built-in method into that you can find in lists. Append apple, and as you can see, indeed, we've got it inside the list. We can do way more than that. We can append, and we can do with pineapple, for example. This do lists, maybe coconut. And now if I save it and run it, I've got all 3: pineapple, apple, pineapple, coconut. But just to show you that lists as the data structure doesn't hold only strings, we can add booleans, integers, and floats. Let's do it. I want to add true, and I want to add an integer, for example, 90. I will save it, run it, and as you can see, we've got everything in there. We've got pineapple, we've got apple, coconut, true, and 90. Okay, so what if we want to remove something? Maybe, perhaps in a sense of game, maybe we've got certain number of enemies or certain number of items in inventory, and after using one item, we need to remove it from the inventory. What we can do is lists pop, and it will remove the last added item. Let me just run it, and it will show you the result. And as you can see, the last item in the list was removed. The 90 is gone. But what if we want to remove the first item, the apple? We can just we can remove, and we need to specify apple. Control S to save, run it, and pineapple and apple is gone. We've got only pineapple, coconut, true, and 90. The 90 is back there because we are no longer removing it after we have added it. We are removing only apple, so that's what has been removed. Sometimes it's useful, as you will see in the future videos as we will be making games. Sometimes it's useful to know how many items is actually inside that list. Sometimes it's very useful to know that. So what we need to do, if you want to know how many items are inside, we just need to call the built-in function len on that list. Just make sure you got enough, you got matching patterns in the slide, and running len on the list will give us the number of items inside. After coconut and true, you got 90 there. Now we have removed apple, which makes it again only 4 items. So it is correct. Okay, so we know this. Move it. We don't need it anymore there. And next, what we can learn is how we can actually access one particular item from that list, because in games that's very much needed. So what we can do, we can, for example, something that you need to know about lists is that it doesn't keep the items inside from the number 1. Like you've got apple first, you've got pineapple second, you've got coconut third, true fourth, and number 90 is the last one, right? But lists, they think from the 0 point, meaning as far as a Python list is concerned, apple is on 0 point or 0 place, in the place of 0. Pineapple is place 1 or index 1, because in Python speak, or in Python way of speaking, it's an index. And coconut is 2. What about the value of true? What do you think? Is it 3? It is 3, yeah. And the number 90 in the list is in the 4th index. So this is something that you need to remember, yeah, because this is just how Python works. It's very likely that it actually works like this in the program. But yeah, this actually, knowing this will help us accessing those items right now. Okay, so now we have all these indexes, and if you want to access a particular item, so we can use it later, we can just call exotic fruits, tell the Python that it's a list. We can just associate it with list. Let's remove let's take off this remove call. We don't need it anymore. And now here on line 9, we have created exotic fruits variable, and it's a list. What we can do now, we can simply append, and we can specify that we want to append from the list Python list, and we want the first index, and we want the second index. And as you can see, sure enough, the exotic fruits now contain our exotic fruits, pineapple and coconut. So this is how lists work. And by the way, the list doesn't have to be called a list. It can be pretty much anything. Like, for example, in this case, what kind of makes sense? Let's call it items. I would call it fruits, but we are adding true and 90 here, so that wouldn't make sense. So what we can do, we can just simply rename the variable. Let's do this. Okay. So this just shows you that a Python list can be named anything. It can be items, it can be fruit, it can be anything you need. But obviously, uh, the more descriptive the name is, the better. Okay, Control S. Let's run it again, and we are still getting the same result. Okay, let me ask you a question now. Yeah, what should I do if I want to print out just the number 90? I can see it's included in the items list, but how do I print it out? What should I do? Let's see if we can do what we can do. We've got the print statement here, right? And what we can do, we can simply call items, and what index is it on? I can see that the number 90 is an index 4. So what I can do is in square brackets number 4, and that tells the Python that we are after the number 4, after we are after the index 4, which is in this case the number 90. Control S for save, and let's run it. And sure enough, we've got it, 90. If you got the same result, well done. Okay, next up are dictionaries. Dictionaries, they are a little bit different from lists, and in the sense that dictionaries, they hold key value pairs. I will explain exactly what I mean by that. And similarly to lists, they can be named whatever you want. Okay, so we can go with um, for example, movies. And dictionary are indicated by curly brackets like this. As far as Python is concerned, we can do also this. It's the same. It's no different to Python. What you need to know, boys and girls, is that dictionaries, they are slightly different from lists. They don't work just the same. Okay. For example, they operate with key value pairs, which means that what we can do is movies, and we can specify that we want to put a key, which is, for example, comedy, and we can give it a value of, for example, Home Alone. Now, at this very moment, the movies dictionary contains a key called comedy and value associated with it called Home Alone. And we can verify, we can print it out. Movies, Control S to save, and let's run it. And as you can see, the dictionary is indicated by curly brackets. The key is comedy, and value is Home Alone. I can hear you asking, what it has all this anything to do with making games? And let me assure you that we will get to that, but we need to understand that the fundamentals are important if you want to understand how to actually make games down the line. So just stick with this. I know it can be a little bit mundane, it can be a little bit boring, but trust me when I say that these are actually very important topics, and when we stick with it, when we learn everything we need, it's not a lot, yeah, but we still need to learn it. And down the line, we'll be able to make some great games that you can show to your friends, show to your parents, your relatives, and it's how you actually develop your creative thinking. Okay, so stick with me. Let's learn together, and let's have fun together. And when it comes to Python dictionaries, we can put in as many items as we want, or I should say, as many keys and values pairs as we want. So, for example, we can do with movies action, and that would be, well, we can go with Terminator. Next can be movies, maybe, I don't know. Well, some other genres. We can go with horror, and horror can be, I can't think of one. Maybe a Carrie. I think that's considered a horror to some degree. And now, if we save the file, we Control S, run it, and as you can see, we've got it there. We've got these key value pairs: comedy, Home Alone; action, Terminator; and horror, Carrier. Oh, sorry, I misspelled it. I think it's Carrier like this. And now, if we want to print out maybe just the value of Carry, all we need to do, we need to actually specify the horror, the key and the value pairs that are associated with one another. So if we want to get the value, we need to call the key, and it will fetch the value for us. So let's do it, horror. Control S to save, and let's run it. And as you can see, surely enough, we get Carry returned. We get Carry in our terminal. And similarly to list, we can get the number of items inside with len, and it should give us the number or the quantity, the number of items, the keys of the dictionary. And surely enough, it's actually giving us 6, which means that it's counting the keys and values. And it is 6 because we've got comedy, action, horror, 3 keys, and Home Alone, Terminator, Carry, which are values, which makes it together 6. In some cases, we want to just know what are the keys of the particular dictionary. We don't care about the values. We want just the keys. In that case, what we need to do is when we call the print statement on movies, we need to just add keys method. It's a built-in method in Python dictionaries, and it will output all the keys in the dictionary. Control S to save and run it. And as you can see, surely enough, it's giving us all the keys: comedy, action, horror. And similarly, if we want just the values, if we are curious about what are the values of the dictionary, instead of keys, we call values. Control S to save, run, and sure enough, we are getting it. Home Alone, Terminator, Carry. And if we want to print out the whole contents or the contents of the dictionary, we can either call movies, or we can call movies, items. And as far as Python is concerned, these two lines 7 and 8, they're identical. Python will understand the same with these two lines. And next, what should we do if we want to actually change some of the data? Like, for example, we want instead of Terminator, we want to change it to something else. If you want to change it, all we need to do, we need to call movies. We need to specify the key. Remember, key and value, they're associated, they're linked to one another. So if I want to change Terminator, I need to specify what key it is associated with. Action. And then I can change it to whatever I want. I can go with Teletubbies. I'm not even sure if it's considered action, but it will do for now. And just to verify that we have done the change, let's check if we made a change. If I can spell right, movies, Control S to save, and run it. And sure enough, as you can see in action, we have now Teletubbies. We have successfully changed the value. I hope this is not too confusing, as you can see here, because on line 5, we are basically creating action key, and we are associating with the Terminator. And on line 7, we are basically overriding. We are replacing what we have done on line 5 with a different value. But as far as Python is concerned, it's completely okay. We can change the value 50, 100, or 200 times if we please. Python doesn't mind. He will change it as long, as many times as we want. Next thing I want to show you is that dictionaries, they don't have to hold just the strings like home alone, terminator, carry, and teletubbies. It can hold any value we have learned so far. For example, we can go with movies and, for example, random, and we can give it a list. Yeah, it doesn't have to be string. It can be a list. So, and we remember from what we have learned so far that lists are indicated by square brackets, right? And what we can do inside, we can type in some some movies. Okay, let's go with Frozen. What's next? I would say Pocahontas. Excuse me if I didn't spell it right. I don't know how Pocahontas is actually spelled. And another thing, we can go with Rescue Rangers. So as you can see, this is actually a list with 3 items in it, with 3 strings: Frozen, Pocahontas, and Rescue Rangers. And now if we say with Control S and print it out, look at what we are getting in return. We've got the random key here, and the value is the whole list. It's not just one item. We've got 3 inside in the list. So that proves that we don't have to. It doesn't have to be necessarily just a string or integer or anything else. It can be pretty much anything we want. As a matter of fact, this dictionary key can be associated with our dictionary. Yes, I will show you. Movies, unknown, I can call it unknown, why not? And I will give you dictionary, but this time, yeah, let's go with dictionary. And I can give it another key value pairs. So it's essentially a dictionary within dictionary. So we've got odd numbers, and we can go with 1, 3, 5, 7, and the next key can be even numbers. And it can be another list, which is 2, 4, 6, and 8. So as you can see, actually we've got a key called unknown, and we associate it with our dictionary. So it's indeed dictionary within dictionary. Control S to save, and I will just run it. And as you can see, yes, it is there, unknown, and I have a dictionary inside the dictionary. Notice the number of brackets, the number of square and curly brackets. Okay, and next, boys and girls, I want to introduce you to sets. Sets are again very different. They are quite similar in some sense to dictionaries, but again, we use them for different purpose. Let me show you. You've got numbers, and sets are indicated again with curly brackets, but there are no key value pairs. They are very much treated like lists, but they help us remove all identical items. Like for example, I can go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there are no repeating numbers in this set, is it? Another thing I would like to point out is that there's another way we can create set. As far as Python is concerned, this is the same thing. It creates set just as well as in line 3. However, there is a very much there's the difference between this and on the line 4. Because on the line 3, if you leave it like this, Python will think it's a dictionary. And on line 4, it will create a set. But if we keep those numbers inside, now it will consider it and it will treat it like a set. Okay, and just to show you what I mean by it removes duplicates. For example, we can give it another number 2. So now in this set, there are the number 2 is there twice. And if I print it out, Control S to save and run it. As you can see, duplicate number 2 is gone. The second number 2 is gone. It's not there. So this is one very useful feature of sets, that it is what it basically does. It just removes duplicates, and it's super useful. Another thing, boys and girls, that you need to know about sets is that they're not changeable. Meaning, once you define it as a number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2, it can be changed. You can't do this, for example, numbers 0 for index 0 and give it value of 4. This will throw an error. Sets won't let you do it. But if you want to know, for example, how many items are in the set, you can still do it just as well, like with lists. Len numbers, Control S to save, and run it. As you can see, 4. 4 because it accounts for those numbers that haven't been removed as duplicates. And now let's do a little recap. And now recap for you. What indicates each of these data structures? So how do you tell Python that you want to create a set? How do you tell Python that you want to create a dictionary? And what about lists? Take a moment to think about your answer. And now, did you get it right? So we have learned quite a lot, and kudos to you for sticking till the end. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with with other boys and girls who might enjoy it as well with you. And I will see you next time. Bye.